AOC's neighbors are totally ratting her out. AOC, Sandy Cortez, is running into a little bit of trouble because, you see, she grew up in Yorktown, but she wants you to think she grew up in the Bronx, because apparently it's a better rags to riches story of some sort, rather than saying you grew up in this $300 and some odd $1,000 home in a Tony suburb. No. She's got to have grown up in the projects in the Bronx. That's what plays in Peoria, or in her district, as you would say. So that's what Sandy's been doing. And now all of a sudden, the local media is catching on. The local media being, of course, One New York Post. That's her hometown paper, and they're all over it. They went out and actually interviewed people that lived in Yorktown to see what they thought about all this, and they just dished on her and they loaded on her, and they're like, we don't have any use for her, because who the heck isn't proud of where you grew up? Well, Sandy's not proud of where she grew up. Take a look. They're saying, if you came here when you were 3 years old, you're from here. Another said she's a total phony. You'd think you'd be proud of being from Yorktown. But this woman, AOC, isn't. No, even though it's a great town, she doesn't want to say she's from there. She says, she's from the Bronx, because, again, that's what plays in Peoria, so to speak. You can see Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Sandy, right here in her high school yearbook photo. We got a few of those because the New York Post went and found them. You've got, I guess this is the sophomore yearbook photo that you're looking at right there. And then you got a junior year, you got a senior year, you name it. Anyway, she got exposed again the other day because she tried to call out Donald Trump and say, you know what? We Bronx girls, don't forget I'm a Bronx girl, and we eat Queens boys for breakfast. Well, okay, but she's not really a Bronx girl, because again, if you leave there when you're 3 years old, you really can't qualify that. So now she's trying to massage it. She's saying, I'm so proud of how I grew up, and I talk about it all the time. My mom cleans houses. I helped. We cleaned tutors' homes in exchange for SAT prep. Growing up between the Bronx and Yorktown deeply shaped my views of inequality, and it's a big reason why I believe the things I do today. Okay, so now she grew up in between? Come on. I mean, she had that spiffy house we showed you the other day for $315,000. They didn't sell it to 2016. She went on basically to say that, this is part of her heritage, etc. So she's clinging to it. Don't forget, this came up once before back in 2018 because she got some heat for pushing her Bronx fairy tale, so to speak, in her campaign profile, which stated at the time much of her life was defined with a 40-minute commute between school and her family in the Bronx. Not true. Okay, so then they had to amend it a little bit, and they said her campaign wiped the term commute. And they tweaked the bio to say, quote, she ended up attending public school in Yorktown, 40 minutes north of her birthplace. I see. Okay, because, you really can't lie and things like that. But it didn't stop her. And the fact that she continues to do it is really actually kind of amazing. But, good thing we got the New York Post because they're all over it. And the neighbors are not too pleased, I should add, yet again. So they're ratting her out. They think she's a phony. It's important actually to think about this, especially in the context of what's going on with the floods, with the vitriol that we're hearing from some sides there, with Mamdani and what he's got going on there in New York, because it's all kind of coming from the same place. And so it's relevant. Just remember this. The lady is a total phony. And you know what? It's coming back to haunt her. Meanwhile, she's facing a serious investigation. This story did not get enough coverage. It did not get enough play last week. And so I want to bring this up again. Remember how just a couple months ago she was like, am I under investigation? Am I under investigation? Am I under investigation? She was asking every Tom, Dick, and Harry. She even sent a letter to Pam Bondi at DOJ. She went on to PBS and said, well, I don't know if I'm under investigation. Well, it turns out, she's under investigation, although perhaps not entirely for impediment. It sounds like she's under investigation because she went out and hired somebody who didn't have the proper legal status to be working here, and yet was somehow privy to all the confidential information that AOC would be privy to as a member of Congress. I mean, this is kind of like Fang Fang, right? On steroids. This is AOC with her, little Fang Fang episode. Although there may not have been that going on. Just saying. Anyway, Tom Homan called her out and he admitted she's under investigation. And this did not get a lot of pickup in the press. AOC's not even really picking this up, but Benny had him on the show, and I want to play this for you again. We watched it last week, but it's relevant in light of things.
Here's the article of the criminal alien staffer that AOC had on staff. Maybe you could just start here and as an explainer to me and to this audience, like, how's this even possible?
It's not possible, and I know that's being looked at. I can't comment on past that. I'm aware of it. We've asked ICE to drill in on that case. It's my information that they were actually. I can't really comment on it. We don't know if it was an illegal status or not at this point. It looks like it might have been temporary status, but I can't comment on the case because it's under investigation.
Do you hear that? I can't comment because it's under investigation. So that's kind of a big deal. And she had it coming. Can I just say, she had it coming. You know, she was tempting fate with this one.
If anyone's breaking the law in this situation, it's not members of Congress, it's the Department of Homeland Security. It's people like Tom Homan and Secretary Kristi Noem. You lay a finger on them, we are going to have a problem.
Oh, now I'm scared. Are you scared? I'm scared, right? You lay a finger on him. Well, you know, Tom Homan's certainly not scared.
You can't intimidate me. Come on, give me a break. You know, I was enforcing it. I was wearing a green uniform, Border Patrol agent, for 5 years before she was even born. I had more than 3 decades enforcing immigration law before she became a member of Congress. I worked for 6 presidents. I've seen policies. I've seen hundreds of policies. Some worked, some didn't. But you can't deny the success of the Trump administration when it comes to border security. Again, the most secure border in the history of this nation. And I said from day one, and she knows this, you can not support ICE. Shame on you. You can support sanctuary cities. Shame on you. But you can't cross the line. You can't knowingly impede ICE law enforcement officers. That is a felony. You can't harbor and conceal, knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien from ICE. That is a felony. And you certainly can't commit criminal trespass. You know, and as far as New York, her district, this administration's done more to protect her district than she has. The number of criminal aliens we took off the streets of New York made her community much safer. She ought to be thanking the members of this administration, the men and women of ICE, who protect this country and make her community safer. So, you know, it's politics over public safety. It's just ridiculous. She ought to love her community more than she hates Trump.
Yeah,
because we're doing.
You know, that would be asking. That's a really tall order. That would be asking for a whole lot, Tom, because so many of these people just want to hate on Donald Trump, which is why, even though things like immigration were a very big issue, how many years ago, right? I mean, we can remember a time when Barack Obama actually was out there deporting 1,000 people a day. It was a big, big issue to him. The Democrats totally embraced it. And now, because it's Donald Trump, it's this crazy, you know, inverted thing where just because it's Trump, they have TDS on steroids and they're not going to go for it. And now you get AOC trying to suggest that the GOP is the party of illegal immigration, or rather, not just that they are the party of illegal immigration, that they're against legal immigration, that they're against all immigration. And she's got that totally wrong. But this is, once again, her fairy tale, her lying, her manipulating that she does as the politician she is, much like trying to reinvent her entire childhood.
About how this is about illegal versus legal immigration. They are attacking legal status and removing legal status. The Republican majority is anti-legal immigration in the United States. And I want to make that very clear, and I yield back.
She yields back, okay? She yields back. Well, let me just tell you this. This woman is in a whole lot of trouble.